Live. We are live on DA Rose as well as Pushpa 10 and Wise FM. So welcome to episode number 9 of Roots Connections on Q for today, Wednesday, September 8th. 2021. I am Simone Mathieu, and we are looking forward to engaging with you for another packed program as we discuss coping and distressing during COVID-19 pandemic, which does not seem to be coming to an end anytime soon. As a matter of fact, I was just listening to the news recently, and the numbers are still spiking all over the place. So the COVID-19 pandemic is unfortunately going to be with us for just a little while longer. So as a reminder, we are here every other Wednesday. We are here and our goal is to build social capital. So what do we mean by that? We mean that we're tapping into the expertise of our Dominican brothers and sisters at home and abroad to explore concrete, practical approaches for advancing the lives of our Dominican brothers and sisters at home and abroad. So this program is no exception. As a matter of fact, if you are able to, I would encourage you to grab a pen and a notepad as we get ready to share some expert recommendations, some resources, some websites, as we talk about the importance of distressing and coping during COVID-19, as well as any difficult time that you might be going through. But before we get started, let me once again say a pleasant good evening to you, whether you're joining us via Q95 Radio or Q95DA.com or any other streaming platforms. And speaking of Q95, don't forget, if you missed any episodes of the program, such as the great one we had about 2 weeks ago, where we had COVID-19 survivors and they came over to share their stories with us. So if you've missed any of the programs along the way, we would encourage you to head on over to Q95DA.com so you will be able to see the episodes and hear all the information that you may have missed along the way. So again, thank you for being here. As we say, a special thank you to everyone who's joining us via Facebook Live. And I know I'm going to go ahead and share the live in just a minute, so just bear with me 1 second. We look forward to engaging with you, of course, on the Facebook Live as you tell us what are your sources of stress, what are your sources of frustration, and how you two are coping, because maybe you have an approach to coping that we may not have thought of. So we're looking forward to hearing from you as well. And a special good evening to Mr. G and the Q95 family, as well as Lambi and Showing in the studio for facilitating our connection this evening. So again, we say good evening and welcome to our guests as they unmute their mics and we get ready for this all-important conversation. We have Dr. Margaret Wallace, Dr. Treefy, licensed psychologist out of Atlanta, Miss Carla Armour, mindset and movement coach in Dominica, and Pastor Cuthbert Joseph in Boston. So we're looking forward to exploring how do we distress and how do we cope during difficult times. So good evening to the panel. How are you today?
Fantastic.
Doing great.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, so we always like to take an opportunity at the beginning of the program to just celebrate our Dominica connection, celebrate our roots. That's why the program is called Roots Connections on Q, because we want to celebrate our Dominican heritage. So as we get started, in about 5 minutes, just kind of tell us who you are, where you were born and raised, and just kind of mention any person or institution you would like to credit for the person that you are today. So let's go ahead and get started with Dr. Treefy.
Hello. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Simone, for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here tonight. When you ask who am I will tell you that I am Lambi's baby sister-in-law. Okay, so my big sis. That's the first thing. It's so good to see you, Lambi. Yeah, I was born in Cottage. I'm from Tuckery, North Side. Spent my days on the beach in Tuckery with the guys playing cricket and dominoes. So you're talking about formation that was formed on the beach in Tuckery, playing dominoes roasting pepper, and playing cricket. Okay, my mom, Josephine, you know, um, my stepdad, talking about people who have been influential in my life. My mom died when I was 21, really suddenly. So essentially my stepdad finished my raising, 21 people think you're supposed to be running out of the house, which you do, but there's still a lot of formation happening, I think, as a 21-year-old, where you're looking for like guidance. Where do I go? And he's been an anchor, a real anchor for me all of my life. um, what else can I say? I'm a Portsmouth secondary school graduate. I'm a Clifton government school graduate. Fridays with learning your civics and doing your news. Make sure you come with a piece of information about what's happening in the world. This is how I was raised. This is my formation. Okay. I can go on forever, but there are other people on the panel. So I will release.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dr. Triffy. Ms. Carla Armour, we'll go over to you for your introduction.
Okay, well, I am from Dominica. I was born in Dominica in Newtown, actually, just on Victoria Street, just where it starts, below DBS. And yeah, well, I grew up like Dr. Triffy. I grew up on the seaside, but in Citronere in Castle Comfort. So I'm on the other end of the island from you. And I've lived in a lot of areas in Dominica, but I also traveled a bit to go to school as well. So I spent 5 years in Barbados, and then I spent 4 years almost in New York, and then I went over to England. Then in between coming home, and then I went off to Namibia, Southern Africa, and England, which is where I share my time right now. So I live both in England and in Southern England, in East Sussex. So big up to all the East Sussex people that are listening in, maybe. And yeah, who would I say is my biggest influence? I guess my parents, I would have to admit. I mean, there's so many people that you cross paths with in life, that strike you in a way that you just they always come to mind. And there are numerous of them. But I really have to say that my parents and my grandparents also, I was very fortunate to have grandmothers who lived to 84 and 101. And my grand aunts and my aunts, but just really strong. My father was a little bit of a daddy's girl, so he used to pull me up a lot in the sense that being a fifth child out of six, you tend to be a little bit rambunctious. My mother sometimes blames it on the asthma medication she was taking when she was pregnant. But I also actually, the more, just to sidetrack there with the psychologist in the field, in the room, is that you find out the more you read and the more you learn about how we're dealing with stress. I found out that my mother was hyper vigilant because of where she was living while she was pregnant because of her asthma. So it may have, well, studies show that these things affect the unborn child. So maybe that's why I'm quite sort of energetic and vigilant. Yeah, so I share my time between being very creative as an artist, practicing artist, and I exhibit all over the place. And I am a life coach and Pilates instructor. So my work is really using creativity and the concepts and principles of Pilates to guide people through release and renewal and just healing and just feeling their best selves that they can be.
Yes,
so that's
yes.
pretty much what I do. And I'm a mom and a wife.
Thank you for that. And Cuthbert?
Well, thank you so much. Ladies always go first. And from the north to the south, I am from the east of Dominica, born and raised in Castle Bruce. CB people, like you, I like to Dr. Trippy talk about cricket, and that was one of my passions. I loved cricket. I got a meeting almost every day for staying in the Castle Bruce Park playing cricket. I was glued to not necessarily playing, but watching the older guys play. And of course, one of the people that influenced me was a good friend called Peter Lockhart. He convinced me that I could play cricket. I actually did play and played until the youth team in Dominica. Actually captained the St. Mary's Academy for the 5 years that I was there. I attended St. Mary's Academy. Of course, before that, the Castle Bruce Government School. So my influence was from there. And my greatest influence was my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. My mom had, I am two of eight. And so my grandmother practically raised us. And so I have a lot of respect for her. And, she influenced my life and instilled in us great morals. And of course, I cannot not give kudos to my aunt, Martha Drago. I don't know if anybody knows her, but she's the sister of Tony Drago, who was on TDN. But when I was growing up in the village of Castle Bruce, I have these big teeth, number 8 and 9. I find out later because I'm in the dental business, and people would laugh at me and say, "Your teeth are big like caterpillar teeth." They would call me Dan Caterpillar. And and my aunt Martha came to me once and she knelt in front of me and she said, "Let me tell you something. You are handsome, you are smart. I want you to go home. I want you to brush your teeth. And whenever they call you Dan Caterpillar, I want you to just smile." So you see, why can I help but smiling now? So Martha was very influential in allowing me to develop confidence. And of course, in terms of my position as a Christian now, my first encounter as a Christian was at the Trinity Baptist Church in Kings Hill. So Carla, right across from where you grew up there, right on the hill, that was Trinity Baptist Church under the pastorship of Henry Pascal. And that's where I guess my spiritual life was molded. And so I credit Pastor Henry Pascal. And of course, I got converted on a sermon by Peter Augustine, the evangelist. And of course, I migrated when I graduated from the St. Mary's Academy in 1982. I attended the University of the Virgin Islands, and then I went to the University of Massachusetts, where I met my wife, and we've been married for 34 years, and we have 3 awesome jewels. I'll leave it at that for now.
Oh, congratulations. And thank you so much for sharing. And of course, we
Thank you.
want to acknowledge everyone who's joining us via Facebook Live. And we want to thank you for sharing the live. So don't forget to share the live. Let everyone know that we're here. If you're listening on the phone, you can send a WhatsApp message. Let everyone know to come over because we're having this important conversation. So let's say a special good evening to Mary Benjamin, who says greetings to you and everyone. Rosalind Severa McLean, good evening, watching from New York. Let's see who else we have. Evelina Blah, good evening all. Good evening, Evelina. Nice to have you on board. David Joseph, greetings and good evening, one and all. Looking forward to another great program. Thank you, Joseph. Bernadette Antoine. Anthony Simon, thank you for being here. Don't forget to share the live as we get ready for this important program. So again, I want to thank you all for being here this evening. So here is what we will be discussing during our time together. We will look at the sources of stress, frustration, and anxiety, the physical and mental impact of stress, unhealthy and healthy approaches to coping, and of course, your professional recommendations that you will share with our audience. And we don't take this lightly because when we think about it, people have a right to be stressed right now. Many people are without jobs. Many people are looking at their children having to return to school and not knowing where they're going to find money for their clothing, how are they going to pay their bills. So I don't want us to minimize that people have real and concrete concerns that they ought to be stressful from. So I want us to take the conversation from that point of view, that the stress and the anxiety and the frustration is not unfounded. Okay. And I also want us to think about this conversation in a general, a broader sense when we think of mental health issues as a whole and some of the stigmas which may surround seeking help for mental health issues. So we have a packed program. We have a packed program. Our experts are here, our audience is here. So we're looking forward to sharing on this all important topic. So thank you for being here. So again, if you're listening, don't forget, grab a pen. You might want to take some notes along the way as we get started. So Cuthbert, let me come over to you. I'd like to get started with you. Just kind of tell us some of the stresses that the people in your congregation are sharing with you, and then we'll go around the room and find out from Dr. Tracy as well as Carla in terms of the stresses that you're finding in your practices as well.
Well, of course, I also like to indicate that my wife and I also run a dental practice, and we see this kind of stress in every facet of life. In the church, at home, we see families that are feeling as though they are locked in, they cannot get out, and even if they were to go out, where can they go? And you're right. They're concerned about, people have loans and they have to pay them back. People have to graduate from school and they have to take a longer times. So the stress is real. From a spiritual point of view, even though one is a Christian, one also experiences stress. And that puts an additional stress on people because the people are concerned. Why am I stressful? And I'm a Christian. The Bible says I shouldn't worry about tomorrow. The Bible says God is able to do all things. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of a sound mind. Why am I worried? And those are legitimate questions. But what I say to people is just because you are a Christian, it does not mean that you don't experience those kinds of things. You are living in the world. I am in the world. The things that are happening around me affect me, it affect my wife, it affect my children, it affect my mother, it affect the people that I deal with on a regular basis. And so again, I'm speaking from you asked me the question in relation to my congregation. So when I speak to my to the people, I have to speak to them to understand, yes, and we are all not in the same spiritual realm, so to speak. Some people probably on the first rung, some people are in the middle, but even then, we still have stress, and we have to understand that it is natural. And you're correct. We should not dismiss somebody's stress, but help them to cope with it. So one of the things that I will say to my congregation is, yes, indeed, the things you're going through are real. But you also have to rely on the word because that's what we believe. We believe that God will never leave us. He will never forsake us. We believe that we'll go through the waters, like it says, but we will not utterly be destroyed. We'll go through the fire, but we will not be utterly burned. So yes, understand that despite what we are going through, we will come through on the other side. And so some of the coping mechanisms, read the word of God, look at people that have gone through what you're going through. This is not the first pandemic that we're experiencing. There was a time when there was major pandemics. If you look in the Old Testament, by the way, the washing of the hands and the keeping of the distance and all of those things, those are in the Bible. Those things happen. People had issues before and they came out of it over time. So we believe in prayer. So I ask people to pray without ceasing. I'm asking others to be your brother's keeper. If you are stronger than that person, be a source of strength for them. Encourage them. Don't let them feel like because they are doubting that they are not a Christian or they don't have faith. It is just that we are humans and we're going through this thing, but it will ultimately pass. And another thing I say is it will make you stronger. If you go through it and you have somebody to lean on, when you look back at it, you'll say, I experienced that and look at where I am today. And so you can help somebody down the road because this may not be our last pandemic. We may experience even worse things down the road. So when you go through this one, you might be in a better place to have somebody cope with it if in fact you have to face one down the road.
Thank you so much. Carla?
Oh, wow. Thank you there. That was interesting. And I took some out of that for me, because I see very similarly, I love to pray, but I also like to tell people to just be still sometimes and listen to what is being told to them. Listen to the divine voice that may be whispering something to them that what they're struggling with could actually be a resource that they can use to take a step to pivot whatever they're doing. No, because I work with people all over the place and all over the world and in different areas, whether it's in business or personal. I find that the biggest thing that I like to say, and it's interesting that you said about stigma, is that a lot of people are feeling that sense of shame. And the first thing I say to people, look, you're not alone. You're not, oh, sorry to tell you, but you're not that unique. A lot of people are struggling, and the first thing I would say is just open up and share. And you will find that maybe somebody's one step ahead of what you're feeling, that they can share with you what they have gone through and how they have handled it. Or just sharing and opening up to someone can sort of, it lifts it out of you and it lightens the load. And just hearing yourself say it. So even if you don't have someone to share at the time, speak it in prayer, and then wait and listen. I like to talk about journaling, write it out and look at it, reread it and see, what am I really saying here? And you can see the words reflect to you and say, oh, but wait a minute now, how will I handle that? What I'm also seeing, as Simone, is that a lot of people are struggling with overwhelm and lack of balance because of how we have to work a lot online. And I guess people have this concept that because you're online, you're always available. And it's like they respond to you and they apologize because they didn't respond to your email in the hour. I was like, I didn't expect it for 24, 48 hours. It's all right. I don't expect you to be jumping because I sent an email to you. No, take your time. Because before it would have been just okay to answer somebody tomorrow. But we are in this thing that we have to answer that WhatsApp right away. And some people are guilty of, you don't answer them in 10 minutes and they're like sending you back another message and question mark, when are you answering me? I'm like, well, I'm not checking my phone every minute. So that is another thing I would say to people, that I always say to people, schedule yourself, schedule checking your email, schedule checking your phone, so that you don't feel this constant overwhelm and anxiety that you didn't do this or you're not doing this yet. Because what happens with that is that, I work with the physical. A lot of people are feeling this dysregulation in their bodies because they're in this sense of flight and fight mode, that they are, really tense. And that is just not good for your heart. It's not good. It just can give you all sorts of disorders. And it is really a problem people are having. People are having problem with back aches, shoulder aches, hip aches, knee joints. All that has to do with a sense of feeling a lack of stability and grounding, a lack of sense of belonging and safety. So it really is a matter that I work with people with their body. Let it go, babes. Just let it go. Self-compassion, self-love, self-care, just little acts. That's something you can do for yourself to acknowledge your accomplishments. A lot of people talk about gratitude. I like to say, talk about celebrations as well, because it's all well and good to be grateful to you, right, Simone, or grateful to an opportunity. But what have you done to celebrate yourself for being able to be in this opportunity? Have you actually said you're doing okay? So the little things like that I think are important to realize. It's terrible. There's terrible things happening, but as Pastor said, hey, these things have happened before. We've come through this. We are quite resilient if we let ourselves recognize that we have it within us. We're made of steel. We're made of good stuff. We just have to dig deep, take a nice breath, cleansing breath, breathe out that stress, breathe in that release, and look at with fresh eyes.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that we're jumping right into the solutions, because I think that is what a lot of us are yearning for. Where do we turn? What do we do? How do we just release the stress despite all the issues we may be facing during this current time? So, Dr. Triffy, I want to come over to you and some of the stresses that you're seeing in your clients. And while you're at it, we'll just roll right into the impact of stress on the body and the mind. And I think Carla did an awesome job of starting that conversation already in terms of just having that tension in your body and the implication. So, Dr. Triffy, the stresses and the impact of stress on the body.
So, two big issues I'm seeing more and more. Number one, worries about getting the vaccine, right? People who are terrified to the point of not just super anxiety, but paranoia, like serious paranoia, psychosis about getting the vaccine. Or the people who are like, you better wash your hands as soon as you get into the house. And sometimes both people are living in the same house. And sometimes you have a household of 10 people with 4 on one side and 6 on the other, right? At varying degrees. So it's just constant chaos, friction, anxiety, overwhelm, everything else that comes up out of that. The other thing is the isolation and the weird way we're having to work and live. Human beings are used to being social. We're used to being out. We're used to seeing people smile. No, we can't see each other's smiles through our masks. So we're not sure if we can trust the person next to us because they can't clue us in with their eyes or their mouth. So we're wondering why people are starting to fight each other on planes. Like, why are we like acting a little wild, like feral in the supermarket? We've been isolated from each other, and we're still now having to continue wearing masks. And yes, it's to save our lives, but that sense of threat to my life and my personhood, myself, my who I've been, is really, really precious to us human beings, and we will fight to the death for it. So that's what you're seeing with camps and groups of people who are like, you're a sheep, you're wearing a mask, and you're a murderer, you're not wearing a mask. But what does that mean then? That is so much conflict in a situation where really as a group we should be finding solutions together to solve the problem and the problems that are arising out of COVID. So this is really, really, really chaotic. I think some of the reverberation, like the impact, is particularly strong with people who have a history already of mental health problems. Like, say they already were struggling with high anxiety or depression, or they were in recovery and doing pretty okay if they were, say, addicted to substances. Now think about it. If you were a person if you were in recovery, many of the recovery programs don't meet the same way anymore. So
Right.
if you were going to your groups and to church to feel somebody's warmth next to you, right? Or that feeling we feel when we're in church together and we're singing a song. We're doing it now, over the screen, but it's a different set of emotions, right? That the body is producing as a result. And we're getting used to all of that. So the chaos mentally is throwing a lot of people off. I also think that drug use, like it has increased statistically, drug use, mental health, those are skyrocketing. And you're seeing an increase in suicide, like actual completions of suicide, because it's almost like yes, we might use drugs to escape, but this is too much. This is so big. It's exponentially bigger than I've ever had to deal with. And so I will escape permanently and I will leave. So talk about like really what not to do. What not to do is to forget all of the coping skills you learned, all of the ways you've been creating joy in your life up to this point. Really, this is an invitation for us to get creative. Like we're human beings, like we have beautiful minds. So this is an opportunity to get creative, find the joy in the little things again on purpose. On purpose in your little box because you cannot this is my home now. This is my work right now. This is my office right here. So you see I have nice little lights. For me, I have nice little pinks behind me because I like it. It makes my heart feel good. I can't, and I have to get up every 30 minutes because I don't want to be sitting forever. It just feels like I am losing some of my brain cells. So, and I know how to take care of myself emotionally. So I really feel a lot of compassion for people who, prior to this, were not yet very skilled in caring for themselves emotionally. So I hope, I'm hoping we keep talking about some more solutions because I think this is very, very, very necessary.
Yeah, and I want to go back to a point that you mentioned about Zoom church and Pastor Cuthbert, I want to come over to you for that one because yes, we're connected, but what is missing in having service via Zoom and what has been your experience with that?
Well, absolutely. The church is meant to, as a gathering. We are fellowship, fellows in one ship, a hug, a squeeze. That's important. The early church began, the Bible says that they were meeting in everybody's houses on a daily basis to share a meal. And so
Mhm.
that's customary. That's an expectation. You cannot do that as you want to, because of you don't want to spread the virus, depending on the demographic of your church, whether it's young or old. And many churches have some very old folks and some very young folks, so you have to take that into consideration. My experience, so far, it has been great. Our church has been able to have two services to meet the requirement of the numbers that you can have. So we've had two services, one at 9 and one at 11, so that we do not have too many people in, so we can do the 6 feet or so. But we've been doing Zoom meetings even prior to COVID. So many people have gotten used to the idea. In fact, what I've noticed from our church is that our prayer sessions are inundated. We used to have prayer meetings and we have 20, 30 people. Now we have over 100 people on the prayer line. So at least that's a positive. But absolutely, people are desiring to come back, to want to hug each other, to see each other, and just to that fellowship is important. What you hear a lot in churches is they were together in one accord. Okay, that's an important aspect of just rubbing shoulders with each other. I am my brother's keeper. When I see my brother laugh, I want to laugh. If I see my brother is sad, I want to go and give him a hug, give her a hug, let her know it's going to be okay. It is not the same on the phone. It is not the same on Zoom, but it is one way that we are doing it until we can come together, because it doesn't make sense just because we want to get together to come together and create more chaos, because then somebody goes to the hospital, you cannot visit them, and they're by themselves. So yes, it's a lot of situations, a lot of things that we have to deal with. And again, you have different people that have different opinions as to whether they should take the vaccine or not. And again, everybody has that opinion, and we have to respect that. That is because that's some of the things we understand, that everybody has an opinion, and everybody's opinion is important. You can't shove them in the back. You cannot, just not take it into consideration. But we have to follow the rules and regulations of the state, of the nation. But we are coping. We are coping, but we also understand that the work of ministry, it never ends. Whether it is a pandemic, or whether things are like they are on a normal basis, we still have to do what we have to do. Now, I just wanted to make an observation for anyone who might be listening, and you're feeling depressed and you're feeling like it's over. As I said earlier, this is not the first time this has happened. But as I was going through, just reading my devotion, I came across John the Baptist. We all know who John the Baptist was, right? John the Baptist was the forerunner of Christ. He was the cousin of Jesus Christ, and he came saying that this one who is coming after me is mightier than myself. I'm not worthy to even untie his shoes. But John the Baptist went along, and he was just preaching the word. And he said to the king, "You cannot marry your brother's wife. This is wrong." And for that, the king Herod arrested him and locked him in jail. And John was there and depressed. And this is the man that baptized Jesus. If you know the story well, while he was baptizing Jesus, the voice came from heaven saying, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased, hear ye him." And so John knows beyond the shadow of a doubt that this was Jesus. But John got arrested, and John is in prison, and John is depressed. And one of his disciples came and see him, and he said to him, "Can you go find Jesus? And can you ask him, is he the Messiah? Or should we expect another?" Why am I saying this? Even the very best of us, the best of us, the most spiritual of us, can get to a point where we think it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. Of course, Jesus said to the disciple, "Tell John, the eyes are being made to see, ears are being made to hear, the dead is being raised, and the word is being preached to the masses." And when that disciple left, he said of John, "You see, John, Man that is born of woman, no greater man has been born. I'm saying all of this to say, just because you might be depressed, or just because you might be feeling overwhelmed, it doesn't mean you're not a Christian. It doesn't mean you don't believe in God. It doesn't mean that you're not saved and you're not spiritual. It just means you're human.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Cuthbert. And we want to come over to you, Carla, as we continue to expound on the impact of stress on the body. So you started telling us some of the impacts, so we can continue along that vein of the discussion for a minute.
I just wanted to just very quickly, Simone, just talk about, a little bit about the difference, as Doctor said, the differences in people's willingness to follow whichever way they want to go. And I think at a certain point, you have to try to develop a certain sense of respect if that's what the person wants to do. You have to say, well, that's their choice. Everybody has free will and choice. I do like to say one of the gifts of the Spirit is also the gift of discernment. So, at the same time, you have free will, but you have to look at things. It's all well and good to say X, Y, and Z. But the amount of people that have died in planes compared to the amount of people that have flown, if you start to really look at statistics, then, but I don't think that people are in such a fearful scenario. Their whole body is full of this fear that they cannot really look at it realistically. So you have to respect and have compassion, because you know that if somebody is not vaccinated and they contract COVID, you know that they will get much more sick than if they were vaccinated. I mean, that's what the statistics is showing. So you can try to be healthy and not contract it, but then maybe those of us who have been vaccinated can be on the watch out to say, okay, how will I be able to support this person if they do get ill? Will I be available to help them with their children or whatever, instead of just being negative and hounding them down, because it's just adding to their fear and to their apprehension and to their anxiety, and actually making it worse for them. And then probably they will get sick, even not with COVID. So I just sort of back off, and everybody has their choice. But if you need something, then you need help for your family or something, well, I'll step in, if that's what you need. But as far as the impact, as I mentioned briefly before, I don't think that many people understand how sick it can make us when we are when we are stressed out, because our stress is in our physical body. Yeah. All the nervous system is taking what the heart is feeling. So if we are restricted in our diaphragm because we are anxious, it's not making space for the heart to beat, to regulate the heart. Yes, then it's sending messages. Okay, what is the cortisol you have to disperse? Then when you have this buildup of these hormones, these neurotransmitters in your body, then your body is always in it. So it gets, the impact of it gets worse and worse. Then what people don't understand as well is when we are going through this stress, there may be something that happened in our childhood, something that happened before, that it then becomes a trigger. You just see something or you hear something or you feel a certain way and you get that trigger, and it magnifies what your body is going through. I mean, probably I'm talking out of turn because the psychologist is in the room, but I want to say, okay, this could be happening to you. So let us see what tools we can use now to draw that out of you, what physical tools you can use. And in particular, because I use the Pilates method, right, where we work on very mindful movements, where we internalize what we are doing, what all our movements from the inside out, and releasing certain blocks, certain tightness, certain restrictions, and allow the body to flow and free up, and flexibility and all of that stuff. It means that we start with just the breath, regulating that and allowing the body to get that sense of flow and release, and then you can then look. I mean, look, so many people come to me, and just this house, when I told somebody, don't worry, she started to cry and being like, 90% of the people that I work with, when they start to recognize and feel a little love for themselves and just be that compassion for themselves, it starts to release. I can honestly say 95% of the people that I work with have cried real tears within the first to third session that I'm working with them, So it's a very real physical thing that you are releasing this. So the impact of these stresses is a very physical, real thing that can give you heart attacks. It can go to diabetes, it's not good. So we need to deal with it on a physical level as well as a mental level, because the mental is feeding from the body. If the body is feeding to frighten, then the brain is saying, okay, get ready to go. So we have to get that mind-body connection and regulation, with the emotion, with the spirit, with the body, with the mind.
Yes, and Dr. Trifi, I see you agreeing with every word, so jump in.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are body, we're flesh, we're mind, we have thoughts, and we're spirit. We have this connection to divine that we can't even always put into words on some level, right? And each part impacts the other one. So, okay, when you think about stress, stress really is, hey, I'm feeling as if whatever it is that's coming at me might be a little more than I can handle. No, you keep that feeling going on for too long, and I still haven't figured out the problem. I start feeling what? Like I'm helpless. I don't have enough power. I'm not smart enough. I can't figure it out. How will I pay for my bills? Well, I can't figure out this problem of not being able to go to work or work properly. So the number of problems, stressors coming at all of us collectively. It's not even as if, how they say, well, if you're falling, your brother can pick you up. In this collective traumatic event, most of us are going through it together, right? So I like to think of things of like on a distribution, like that normal distribution. You're going to have that 5% up there who's going to be like, what you all worried about? We got this. It's going to be all right. And down there on the other tail, some people are going to be like, I'm dying. I'm dying. Of course, most of us will be in the middle where we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure it out. In Dominica, they say you bataille, and you're struggling, you're wrestling against these powers that are unseen, but they're there nonetheless. You can't touch it, but it's there nonetheless. And so your brain, your physical brain, is trying to cope with the threat. As Carla said, some of us have styles of coping. So some of us, when threat comes, we escape. Bye, I am hiding under the bed. I don't want to see, don't want to talk about it. Some of us are like, we're going to fight. Some of us actually just fall out, like a possum, in the street, like Manikou. I don't know if Manikou do that in Dominica, but we just fall out, like. And then some people do, like we say up here, like deer caught in the headlights. You just like, I don't know what to do. I'm what, right? But these are just biological processes. So it's important to know that that's just how human beings respond and react, and figure out, well, what is my style? What is happening? What am I doing? And how am I showing that in my life? Because if I can do that, then I know how to reverse that, or I know what to do to help myself. So if my coping style is to pretend as if nothing's happening, meanwhile, my bills are not getting paid, because I've buried my head in the sand, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's going to stop, it's going to end, it's going to end. Well, COVID has actually been, a lot of us have been thinking COVID was going to last maybe 6 months. I don't know how many of us thought we were going to be still really in this position this far out. So we got our hopes up, and then boom, back down again. So you're going through all of that again. Maybe you had so much energy on the front end. You were like, wow, this big thing is coming. I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to beat this thing. And you did everything you could. You got vaccinated. And now they're telling you another strain is coming out and that it could still take you out,
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of, we have to Well, nobody has to ever do anything, but it's in our best interest to learn, become educated about how to care for ourselves.
Yeah,
That's what Carla is saying, how to care for ourselves, not just in the body, because I'm telling you, if the mouth cannot speak about it, your body is going to manifest it. It's going
exactly.
to show itself up in diabetes, in heart disease, and substance abuse. And if you don't know how to connect to your spirit, your I have an understanding that there is a force and energy, even if that's a part of myself that is bigger than me, that's bigger than I am, that I can lean into, because this thing in front of me is too big and I don't know what to do with it. Those people who can mesh all three: body, taking care of our bodies, our minds, checking our thoughts. The Bible says to hold those thoughts captive that are not in your best interest. In psychology, we say reframe the thought. If you're thinking, oh my God, this is just never going to work out for me, try to get some different words to use to describe the situation. Yeah, and connect to your spirit, your spiritual source. And there are practices, there are ways we can do that. Practice, there's prayer, there's meditation, there's taking a walk in the woods, there's taking a trip to Dominica and go remember how to bathe in the river, because life in the US is just too much mentally. This is what I did a month ago. I had to go, like, just kind of put my foot on the ground, even if it was like a real struggle getting there with all of the COVID restrictions and this and that. But for me, I needed it. My mental
Yeah.
uh, processing was shutting down. It was just too much. And so, now I'm back. Look at me, my little face bright. Look, the people told me, look, this is what they said. Wait, Dominicans have bad tongue anyway. But when we're ready, they said, anyway, you looked so stressed out in that video when you were in Puerto Rico. And look at you now, your face is bright. Your face
Yes,
is bright after
absolutely.
being in Dominica. But it's the truth.
Yeah.
And so we have to take responsibility for managing our health. It's just health, overall health. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think all three of you had the same idea because Carla is now in Dominica. I know Cuthbert just returned from Dominica. So I'm jealous that I haven't had the opportunity. But thank you for sharing all this wonderful information. And I want to come back to both you and Carla because we want to also be sure to know when it is time to seek professional help. So when this has gone beyond your own ability to cope, and when do we know that it is time for us or someone that we know to seek professional help? But couple, I wanted to come back to you because I wanted to challenge you on a question because you talk about the importance of praying and religion. What do you say to someone who says to you, well, how is that going to pay my bills? Here I am praying from sun up to sundown. I'm attending church via Zoom, but my bills are still unpaid. So what do you say to someone with that exchange?
Oh, that's a question that is asked whether we're in a pandemic or not. People
Mm,
always ask, I'm in church, I am a Christian, I do what the Bible says, and how come I am still not rich? You see, it's a wrong idea to understand. God does not just take care of us financially, okay? He blesses us absolutely, but he blesses us. You're alive. One thing we have to understand is we have to look at the positive. If we are engaged in negative talk, negative people, negative environment, guess what? We're going to end up being negative. But if we look at it from a positive point of view, and by the way, I am my brother's keeper. If I am praying to God and I don't have money to pay my bills, I'm part of a church, I'm part of an organization. If your pastor doesn't know that, then that's a problem. If your brother doesn't know that, then that's a problem. See,
Exactly.
God does not necessarily send all the money to you. But you can go to the church and say, you know, I'm in some hard times right now. Are you able to help me? That's what the church is for. That's what we are. I mean, we may not necessarily practice it the way it should, but go back to the early church. The Bible says they all shared what they had with each other. Nobody had too much and nobody had lack. You understand? And so if you are praying to God and you are a one-man show, then that's a problem. You need to get yourself immersed with the community that you are part of. And so take your situation to them and they will help you. See, the problem a lot of us have is we pray to God and we expect God to come directly and give it to us. Tell your situation where this man was drowning, right? Again, I don't know, they may not be true, but I read it somewhere. He's drowning and he asked God to send him help. And a boat comes to him and he goes, no, I'm not going on the boat. I'm waiting for Jesus to help me. Then the water rose to the point where he had to go on the roof of the house. A helicopter came and says, no, I'm not. I'm waiting for Jesus to help me. Needless to say, he drowned and he gets to heaven and says, God, where were you? I was praying for you to help me. And Jesus says to him, didn't I send you a boat? He said, oh, that was you? Did I not send you a helicopter? So the point I'm making is you may not get the money directly in your hand, but your brother or your sister might be able to help you. So yes, but we got to pray without ceasing no matter what. And sometimes you pray and the thing you are asking for may not come right away. And one of the problems, your specific question was about bills, okay? My bills are not being paid, and that's critical. If I don't pay my bills, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to do this and that. But we've got to trust God. That is, I mean, as a pastor, that's what I got to say. I got to trust God where I cannot trace him. And he may not give you the money right away. He may not send it to you directly, but there is a means somewhere. When one door is closed, he'll open a window. And yes, that is what our beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And that is the key. And by the way, I think one of the questions you asked me, maybe don't to ask later on, is what are some of the core values in our nation as a Christian? And those core values, love, compassion, looking out for each other, those are the core values that if we actually practice them and my brother is in need, then we should be able to help him pay his bills until he can get on his feet.
Well, while you're at it, but let's just jump into it because the question was, and it's a question for all of us on the panel. The question was, have we lost our Christian values? So are we now so caught up in our own situations? And I see Carla is ready to jump in. So
I just wanted to jump in on something Cuthbert just said, yes, or what he was just saying. Remember what I said, that we're not that unique?
Right.
Don't feel ashamed. Talk about your problem, right? That's exactly what you're saying.
Exactly.
I cannot be my brother's keeper if I don't know that he needs keeping, right?
Thank you.
So humble yourself and come straight out and say, well, this is what I'm struggling with, Be honest. Some people have to feel this embarrassment and shame. Well, what is that about? You're just a human. Everybody has their ups and downs, and just go with it, Anyway, let me go. I have some other points to make on that, but I will come back to it.
Yes. So the question, have we lost our Christian values? And just a reminder, at 9 p.m. we will be ready for your phone calls. So we will have Lofty give us the phone numbers in just a minute. But let's just go there. Have we lost our Christian values? Have we become so self-centered and so concerned with our own problems, our own situations, our own stress and frustration that we're not as concerned with the person next door? Carla?
If I may just say something quickly to answer that, I think sometimes we could think that, let's go back to the statistics concept, okay? We may go out and we may see 100 people, cross paths with 100 people, but there may be one or two aggressive people that lose their cool, lose their Christian values. Because why? Because we are created, we are evolved to be aware of a stress to us, something that could harm us. So that fear or that acknowledgement of something negative is much bigger in our perception than all of the positives. You know, so it's easy to say, oh, have we lost our Christian values? But if you talk to 25 people, there may be one person that's so I think we have to look at it with perspective as well. But I have to say, from what I have gone through in England and in Dominica with this COVID, I have been exposed to people that are very kind. I cannot say I really come across people that are rude or negative or anything towards me. And I think maybe it's how you open yourself to people. If you open yourself with a smile, even if it's through a mask and they can see your eyes and your nod, you know, or you step back for somebody to pass first, but not with a pull away, but just a sort of a nod. I think that goes a long way because people do feel the energy that you give off. There is an energy around us. You know, we do have energy. We expel energy all the time. So I think if we give that positivity, it will come back to us. So personally, I would say no, we have not lost our Christian values.
Thank you. Dr. Tracy, your thoughts?
Okay, so I have spent some time thinking about this in the Dominican context because I've actually started writing about this. I call it the Creole mindset, which I believe helped our elders survive on a little rock that was so isolated. And not just survive, they really thrived because they developed a template to live to be centenarians to the point where at one point, I mean, we had perhaps the second highest number of centenarians per capita in the whole world. Okay, so that is something for a little island like us. Some of the ways that they did that, though, were grounded in what Pastor Cuthbert was talking about and what you just said, Carla, which is the love and compassion. I go straight for the Creole word, which is natty well. Natty well, the way my parents described it to us is the kind of heart for other people. Having a heart for other people. If you have natty well, there are things you will do, and there are some things you will never do. And those things were unspoken, but they all sort of, they lived it, they knew it. Those, that sense of natty well is completely what Kudme is about, where you go and you help your neighbor, where you go on a Sunday and you clean the home for the older person in the community who's got no kids, who's got nobody to take care of them. I believe we still have that. And I'm going to say we do because when I was home at my sister's house in Wesley, I was never wanting for food. I had means to get myself food, but the neighbors, they would find bananas, they would find fruit, and they would just bring it over. They'd never met me before.
Mm-hmm.
They had never met me before, but we were in lockdown and everybody was looking out for everybody else. So I must admit that there is a part of me that believes just collectively everybody on the planet has gotten more self-focused, self-centered. I think the era of social media allows us opportunities to do that more. You know, the selfie generation, you know, we're focused more on ourselves, which I don't necessarily, you can use anything for positive or negative. If the culture is losing that, then people at our age need to ask ourselves a question. Because we have the information about this natty well that I speak of. So how come we haven't taught it to our kids? They're not just going to pick it up by osmosis. Our parents taught it to us. So there's a generation in the gap that has not done its job as well as it ought to. If we're saying the culture is losing it. And so because we can even say it, that means we've identified the problem, which is a beautiful thing. Because once you identify a problem, what do? You fix the problem.
Exactly.
That's it.
Awareness.
That's it. It's that simple. So that just means, like, to me, people like me, I've got work to do, teaching these concepts to my children. Start there. And, you know, charity begins at home. Start in your little circle. They say if you want to see the whole street clean, sweep in front of your yard. If everybody does it, the whole street is going to be clean. The whole street is going to be clean, as opposed to waiting for your neighbor to sweep their yard before you sweep your yard. Really? That's backward logic. So yeah, I think there's a charge for people in our generation. We have not gone too far. Like, we're in the middle. We've got to teach those powerful concepts to the younger ones, because the way that the planet is right now, natural disasters, I don't think they're going to lessen. All of the research is suggesting we're going to be facing more catastrophic events, meaning at any given day or month or year, one of us is going to be in our butts, even if we've spent our lives accumulating wealth and all of that stuff. So kind of like a insurance policy for the future.
Yeah, and it just speaks to the fact that this is an important conversation even beyond COVID-19. So let's go over now to the studio. Lambi, if you can tell us the numbers, and as soon as we come back, we're coming over to you, Carla. Make a note of that point that you want to tell us. And of course, we will take the Facebook comments as well while we're waiting for the phone call.
The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, and the international access number is 305-432-9624. This is Roots Connection. The numbers are, again, 449-3095-9697, 616-4257, 305-432-9624, and we're taking your calls right now.
Yes, thank you for that, Lambi. So while we wait, let's hop over to Facebook and say a pleasant good evening to Tina Bell, De Ramon, as well as Beverly Johnson, Sandra Norris. I see that you're here with us, and we want to thank you for being here. Let's see what the comments are saying on the Facebook Live. Mary Benjamin confirms, so true. We know how to build a foundation. So she's confirming the importance of having that foundation to build on, especially when difficult times approach. Rosalind Severus says, transcend it. I'm assuming she means rising above any problems that may come our way. Let's see here. Janice Shaplis, I strongly believe Christianity is just a word of the day. Who wants to take that point? I'll come back on that one. Maria Metit says, Dr. Triffy, perhaps I did not hear you include disassociation, a form of coping. However, it can be dysfunctional. Let's take a couple more comments and then you will be able to respond to the Facebook Live comments. David Joseph, so take some notes if you would like to respond to any comment that I am reading out right now. David Joseph, and I'm looking at Lambi to make sure we're not missing any phone calls. Oh, there's a phone call.
Hello?
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, please.
Good night, Lambi. Good night, my panelists.
Good night.
Everything, but most of all, my real side is the spiritual side. And I want to tell you, Pastor Cuthbert, I don't know who he is, maybe I know. I enjoy everything you say that looks like me. I just like that side where in the book of Acts continue to say they share everything common, share what they had to say, and I think it's still pertaining to us today. But what I notice in the Christian world that people even afraid to approach the Christian sisters in COVID and afraid to go towards people. But I'm a person I like to talk a lot, and sometimes I cannot refrain myself. I telling God, but I like to talk, But I have my mask and everything, and I still stay a good word person. I encourage other people. And I want to tell Miss Carla, Armour, and the other lady, all what we were saying. Tonight I'm enjoying it. But the other night, not to say I wasn't enjoying it, but too much of COVID, too many. So people, everybody have their own ideas. So that is true. I I sometimes just put up the radio just to put my mind at ease and go to the voice of life. But tonight I sat down there and I'm enjoying. So continue to do the work and come back again. Come back. People need to hear what this solution. There's a question.
Yes,
There are many questions, but sometimes you don't get no answers. God bless you all. Continue to do the good work.
Thank you.
yes. Thank you, Carla. God bless you. Pastor, you want to respond to that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, indeed. Too often, unfortunately, in the church, we find we are not practicing what we should, and that is beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. 1 John 4:7 and 8. So, how can we love God when we have not seen and we are not loving our fellow brothers and sisters? And I shouldn't be afraid to go to my sister or my brother because we are in this together. And I probably, again, the sister is talking about the fear of catching the virus from others, and that's probably why they are keeping their distance. But in the overall scheme of things, we should feel comfortable enough to go to each other if we're in need, and not to feel ashamed or afraid, because that's what we are supposed to be doing.
Thank you. Carla, you had a point you wanted to make.
Well, I didn't hear very clearly what the lady was saying. I couldn't get everything, but I wanted to just make a point on what Dr. Trifi has said about the exposure to the social media. And what I find some people have told me, a lot of people have told me now, is that in the first bout of lockdowns and everything, where people were very sense of a sense of self-preservation. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And what a lot of people are seeing that has happened to them and has shared with me is that even the children, because they're exposed now to so much more social media, and just not stuff that is vanity, but stuff that is information that's going out there. And there's so much more talk and awareness about this mental health. You actually find that the children now are seeing that they need to support the parents now more, that they're getting more into sharing with the parents, learning from the parents, that there's a change in the relationships with the children and the parents. So I guess everybody was so scared to begin with. So it was a sense that, oh my gosh, all I'm doing is picking up after people. The mothers were just like so overwhelmed. And then now they've actually gotten this closeness with their children, and it's more sharing. So I think it's a sort of a double-edged sword, in the sense that, yes, we've had all of the social media, so much stuff coming at us, but I think we're also exposed to so much more information, and this sense that, look, now I have to share it with my mom. I have to say, only people I can talk to. So I think there's an upside to that as well, in that aspect, as she was talking about. We also had talked about something that I wanted to come back on, and somebody was talking, I think a comment that you read about that she talked about disassociation, when you go into the freeze stage, and then you go into disassociation stage. And actually I had pulled this up that's why I was looking on, because I actually pulled up something on my phone that a lot of times people are talking to me and they immediately say, oh God, I'm so depressed. I said, come on, let's step back here. Okay. Depression is actually an illness. Okay. Are you really ill? I'm not going to say, it's not true. This is what you feel. But let's process this a little bit. Okay. Let's go through the stages that we've gotten to. Look, I'm really lethargic. I have no appetite. I just don't feel like I'm feeling useless. Is this how you feel? Can we look at your skills? Can we look at what you could be doing? You don't have a job, or what you could be doing, even if it's just to help somebody. Let's see that you can feel useful. Is it that you're feeling a sense of despair and overwhelmed because you have all these bills and you don't know how? Okay, who have you spoken to about it? Have you looked into different, in England, they do a lot of aid. There was a lot of aid for people that lost their jobs and stuff like that. So have we gone down that path? Let's just sink into a hole and say, I'm so depressed, and climb into a hole all of a sudden. Let's see what stage we're at. So I think it's important as well, when we're working with people or just dealing with family members, just talking with our brothers and sisters, in the sense of the word, our brothers keepers. I'm not saying to what's the word I'm looking for? I'm losing my word, but just to minimize their what they're going through, because they're going through a hell of a time. I'm not saying to say, no, you're not going through that. I'm saying, maybe it could be that this is how you're feeling. Let's explain what that depression feels like or looks like to you, and then maybe they will find that they're expressing it in a different way, and they realize, well, wait a minute, no, okay, true, I could look, as you said about reframing, right? Somebody told me once, a couple of people told me, I was a girl, you're the queen of reframing. Okay, let's just flip that on his head here for a second. Are you sure that's what the husband said to you, or is that what you heard? Let's just reframe that here, How else could that have been said? If you're thinking of it from a different standpoint, if you step out of your shoes, is that really what you think that man was saying? That man that loves you so much, he married you, taking care of you. What? Nah, I don't think so. Let's take a step back here, But then we are so in our bubble, in our fear, in our depression. We hear it like that and we flip it, and then we get defensive. And then we go deeper into our hole because we feel that that's what somebody's saying to us. But let's talk about it with somebody. Find somebody that you can, talk to about it. And that's what you were asking. When do we think that we need professional help? And what level of professional help? Look, if I'm a coach, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to prescribe anything to people. And even you like to call me an expert. And I tell people, I am not no expert. I am just a guide, because I am an expert in who I am. But everybody I come across is going to have a different thing that they're presenting me with. So we have to journey together and find a path. And I can prompt you, and I can reframe something, and I can open up a different door, and I can say, okay, let's try this tool. But I'm just a guide. I'm not Moses with the commandments. I'm not going to close the Red Sea on you as he'll strike you down, I am just here as a guide and as a support. And I think a lot of people feel that someone's going to judge them, but it's okay. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just here to be an open ear, broad shoulders. Let's see how we can face this together. Now, if I see this this is looking like an issue that's way too big for me, I'm not going to be this kind of proud person and say, oh, let's continue to do this. No. Whoa. I think we're going to need to call in a doctor here. We need to call in the person that you need for this issue. You understand? And I think that we need to also do that. Professionals also need to recognize when something needs somebody else to come in, when you need another expert, as you say. That's my take on that.
Yes,
Can I jump in a second, Doctor?
yes.
As Carla was talking, the thought came to me. Some of us think, because I'm a pastor, I have everything under control, okay? And a lot of leaders, a lot of people think, oh, well, he's a pastor, or he's this, or she's the president of that, and everything should be fine. And that can be such a big issue because I'm a leader, because I'm a pastor, I may think I don't need professional help. I don't need anybody else to help me. And so if I look around and say I need help, I might be considered weak or I don't have faith or whatnot. My daughter is into psychology. She has a master's in psychology. And I don't know if I should call it depressed, but I was not in a good position. And I just found myself laying on the couch, and she came and started to talk to me. And I'm not one to necessarily speak out those things, because I like to preach that positivity aspect. You got to see the good in the bad and all of that. And I was just not myself, and she came and talked to me, and I'm like, wow, I'm supposed to be teaching her, and there she is helping me out. And so we have to feel come down a little bit. Let somebody else, the person doesn't even have to be a professional, but just to have that conversation with somebody to let you know that you can do something different, or you can take a break. She said, Daddy, you do it too much. You are occupied over there. You are over there. You cannot be the solver of everybody else's problem. You have your own life. And I'm like, wow, where did you get that? And so, yes, we have to be willing to listen to others, and we have to take time for ourselves as well. Because if you're going to lead people, you have to lead them from a place of health. You cannot be sick and want to lead people. So I put that out there for if anybody's listening and you're a leader, seek help for yourself too.
Amen.
Yes, and I want to come to you, Dr. Triffy, real quick, because I know you have a lot to say, but I just want to support what Cuthbert is saying, because one of my favorite expressions is you cannot pour from empty. And I think many times as leaders, you know, we have a psychologist, we have a coach, we have a leader of a church with us. People look to you to be the strong one, but you as well have to take care of yourself. You have to rejuvenate. I'm so happy you all got to go to Dominic, although I'm jealous. And we'll leave that alone. But how do you rejuvenate your spirit? How do you rejuvenate your energy so that you will be able to be that stronghold for your congregation, for your clients, for anyone who's seeking your counsel? So Dr. Shrifi, I know you have a lot to say, so we'll come over to you for that Facebook comment about being the association being dysfunctional and anything else you would like to talk about.
Yes. So, you know, when you think of the word dissociate, think of it on the other side, in a more positive way, which is associate. To associate is about connecting and being with, right? Being present. To dissociate is almost like, in some healers will say, your soul leaves your body. Yeah, so the physical is there, but you have gone. You have checked out. This is too much for me. I will leave. It's too painful. It's too much. It's too overwhelming. I'm there in physical flesh, you know, form, but my l'esprit, you know, my self, my spirit, all of my tools, all of my creativity, my ability to access my resources, to cope, to generate solutions, I can't access that. And that's a brain thing. That's the way many of us have learned. Often it starts with traumatic events, you know, where you learn to completely shut down, to leave. The root of that, at the base of that, is the emotion of anxiety. So if you pay attention, you hear anxiety just creeping along every little piece of this conversation we've been having. And anxiety is really just neurotransmitters in your brain, right? The brain is just releasing certain chemicals, and we're feeling a certain way in our body. When you're a child, some of us learn how to manage those feelings in our body more efficiently, I'd say, than other people. Some people just close it off. Again, some people, they actually do the other thing. Instead of not doing much, they do too much. Like they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, like just frenetic, like doing, but not really doing anything. So what you do with that is you learn to find balance. You learn how to feel. You're always going, and when people come to me and they say, my anxiety, it's not just, you know, everybody feels anxiety. Or I have anxiety. Of course you do. You're alive. We all experience anxiety. You might be, the story you're telling yourself about your sensations in your body is that it's too much for me. It's so big. It's too much. I can't feel it. You know, we talked about reframing. Well, what if instead of saying it's too much for me, perhaps I say, you know what? This feels so uncomfortable for me right now in my body. Just say that. Just talk about it. Find somebody, qualified or not, and just talk about it. Because in therapy, we're finding it's not the fact that I went to school for longer and I have more information in my head and I have learned many different tools and strategies. That's sometimes the most healing thing. Sometimes the most healing thing is the connection you can make with another human being. It's that heart, that accord the pastor was talking about. When we are in one accord, many of us get healed in church because of that thing. It's the same kind of connection you felt with your daughter. You said, I just found myself talking because now I feel heard and I have an opportunity for somebody else to mirror back to me that I'm not cuckoo. I'm not exaggerating. Yeah, they might tell me, you know, like you're saying, Carla, to, hey, perhaps you might put it on a different picture frame. Imagine it wasn't a different picture frame. The same set of circumstances. Can we use some different words to talk about it? Because the thing is, the kind of words you use will impact your brain in a different way. It's all in the brain. Yeah. So if I change it from this is too much for me to mean, you know what, right now I don't yet have what I need to make it happen, but I'm going to go do some research. How I feel in my body is going to be completely different than if I say, this is too much for me. I don't know what to do. Because if I say that, I'll check out. If I don't know what to do, I've already lost. And so my creativity has escaped. So you can reconnect to that part of yourself, yeah, that knows what is in its best interest. Number one, by using your breath. Your breath, what happens when you stop breathing? We die.
That's
So
right.
your breath is your life. And the way you breathe, hey, if you're breathing like this, no, 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 you're trying to die. Right? So you elongate the breath, you lengthen your breath, you breathe on purpose into your diaphragm, into your belly, like your imagine like a balloon is expanding your belly when you're breathing in, and then you squeeze that breath out. So like babies breathe, we forget how to breathe because life comes at us. We have to do homework. They start killing us with homework when we're in little school, so we forget to be chill and just run on and enjoy life. So we have to teach ourselves again how to breathe. We have to teach ourselves again how to move, because movement is another way that'll kind of snap the brain out of the whatever state of paralysis it was in. So sometimes we have to do jumping jacks, or sometimes we have to do some yoga stretches.
Can we clench?
Depending. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can just jump in for a minute, because I want to go back to the Facebook Live comments, but I want to stay on the topic of anxiety for a minute, because like you said, Dr. Triffy, we all experience anxiety in one way or another. And what I found is anxiety is energy. But before I say so, let's take a phone call real quick. Oh, we can't hear you.
It's good to think so much of the physical side and the emotional. But I always tell a man without God is no man. And I say to myself that the Bible says, unless the builder build a house, he labor build in vain. Unless the watchman watches the city, watching it. That is Psalm 127. But then now, we're watching that in Philippians 4 said, be anxious for nothing. He's giving a whole setting how to deal with anxiety, as well as Matthew chapter 6 telling you. So we have enough answers in the Bible to help us out. But sometimes we dwell so much on the physical, exercise and different things, and we live out there. But I think priority goes first to God, and then God is able to direct you. Because the Bible says, and he which has us to say, because of lack of wisdom, my people perish. So God comes first in everything, everything follows after. So God bless you all. Always think of the physical. Don't put God out of it.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you. Absolutely. I completely agree with you that we have to keep God in the mix. And I see Cuthbert is itching to jump in, but I'll just go ahead and say what I was about to say before he does. So yes, I always think of anxiety as energy. So we talk about reframing, which is so important. And if we don't take anything out from this conversation this evening, I think that is the one thing I would like for the audience to take, that you can reframe the thoughts in your mind in terms of what you're experiencing. And for me, the way I get rid of anxiety is I run. Right? So you have all this anxiety bundled up with you. You're feeling stressed, you're feeling frustrated. By the time you come from running, you're so tired, you don't even remember what you were anxious about. So we each have a responsibility, whether it's through prayer, meditation, taking a nature walk, listening to music, dancing, swimming. You guys just came from Dominica, Carla, you're still in Dominica. Enjoy the beauty of nature just to distress, to get that anxiety out of your body. Cuthbert, you wanted to add?
I mean, the caller, I just wanted to, the scripture that she quoted was Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. It says, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. And so, yes, she's absolutely correct. Every time you have an issue, there's a solution for in the Bible. It's just that not all of us at the same spiritual level. And so I can understand that. Maybe she can, maybe you can, but somebody else that probably is young in the faith, that's just something for that is very difficult. And as I mentioned earlier, even the very spiritual and strong people have anxiety too. I talked about John the Baptist. Okay, are you Christ? He was anxious because there I am in jail and I shouldn't be because you are the Savior. So yes, we ought not to be. So if you find yourself in a state of constant anxiety, you need to have somebody again that can help you to understand. Again, listen to scripture, listen to go over things that a brother or a sister went through, because we learn by our experience. And my testimony can help you to cope with that situation. I certainly agree with you in terms of distressing. When this COVID thing came out first, the very first thing I did next day, and I have been doing this, well, since I came from Dominica, I haven't gone back, but I go to the mountain. There's a mountain in my city. I don't know if you've seen my post
Yes, I have.
to Blue Hill Mountain. And I mean, it's a mile up. And when I get up there, I feel, I mean, as I'm going up, I'm thinking positive vibes. If I see an animal, I'm trying to, what is the deer? What scripture does that? It has the deer panteth for the water brook. So, and so on and so forth. You know, I see an eagle. I mean, I want to be like an eagle as it flies in the air. Those things come to your mind. By the way, I climb trees. I hope my wife is not listening to this, but I feel like, oh my goodness, I am climbing. I'm getting higher and higher and higher. I'm coming out of the valley. I'm climbing into the mountain. So those are things that you can do to cope with just all the anxiety and all the stress that's going around you. You talk about Dominica. I took a trip up the Indian River, and oh man, that was so awesome to go up the Indian River. I'm not trying to get you jealous, but I went over to Red
Too
Rock,
late.
and I saw those beautiful, oh my goodness, I didn't want to leave. But nature can help us cope with all kinds of anxiety and all kinds of stress we are dealing with. And we ought not to just, if we just stay inside and all the stress is there, get out, look at the sky, look at the birds. And if God can take care of the birds and he can take care of the lilies, he certainly can take care of you. Like you say, when you get back home, a lot of those things are no longer a stressor, At least that's how I see it.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
What he said.
He said it well, but you had asked him a while ago about saying that, oh, I'm praying and I'm not getting any money. And I thought you were going to ask him, what about those people that don't believe in God?
Mhm. Good point.
And I think maybe, Dr. Trishi, you mentioned something about it in the sense that we have it within us. I tend to think that, look, I have God breath in me, so it is within me. If I take that deep breath, it's almost like not almost, it is that I am inviting a new divine breath to enter me and calm me and let me rest with that thought, rest with that request, rest with that prayer, and then sit still and listen and let that small voice talk to us. We have it within us. We have all the
We do.
resources within us. If we just look at our hand, one finger, and think of what it entails, there's that little finger, just to have a finger, what it involves, and to feel, it is so miraculous. Just this one little finger. If you try to put a fingernail, you know how much pain that is.
Mhm.
So if we just stop and think about ourselves, internalize something and say, look at who I am, look at what I have available to me. What can I do with it? And I'm a very strong believer after the breathing. I'm a very strong breather in the meditation and sitting still and journaling, writing down things, getting it out of your head and onto a paper. Take a fresh piece of paper and just write marks, draw pictures, get things in your magazine, give you ideas. Let things pour out of you, because that could be messages that are coming to you for you to see something. Of course, I never thought I could do it this way, that you could reframe something for yourself, meet with a
Yes.
friend and discuss it, what you've come up with, meet with a
Thank
professional, discuss it. So definitely, take that deep breath, say your prayer, sit still, allow that divine spirit, surrender. I have a breath and surrender meditation I do after my Pilates class sometimes. I do a breath and release if I feel people need a certain release, or we need a breath and surrender. And I just ask them to calm everything, sit still, let them melt, let them body disassociate from their body and just deal with the spirit. And let us just meditate and close our eyes and just be filled, surrender to what's coming to you. You know, and when you finish
Yes.
that meditation, let's look around, find something, a color or something that is going to give you that inspiration, and then go ahead and get your journal. Start writing on what came to you. You know, let that be something to refresh you and hold you for the day.
Thank you,
So
Carla.
that's one,
We
two,
have a
so
call, I believe.
Good evening. I am on touching base. Good evening to Rivanica and good evening to the world. And I will bring in my little
Good
business. We'll
evening.
have a great program there tonight.
Thank you.
Now, really and truly, we problem we have two people that really have, especially for the Caribbean people. No, everybody say they believe in God, but I don't think people have to believe in God. No, people have to know the Father because why? As he say, he created us in his own image and likeness. He gives us dominion on everything. Now, man can get short of the glory. But the problem we have in the world today, you see, a lot of people have a problem even with their own self, right? People pick up problem and put on the account. This is a problem for yourself already. No, we have another problem again. A lot of people speak in God whatsoever, but they don't have no love and respect for humanity. If you don't love humanity, there is no way you can love God, number one. If you don't respect people, there is no way you're going to love God. If you don't show people love and respect, and in other words, you elevate and motivate humanity, there is no way you're going to love God. You know what I'm saying? It have a lot of people have a lot of jealousy and greed in them. That's another problem again. To me, you can't put the whole problem on your account. Leave the world and think of you. Find yourself. Be yourself. You can't be nobody else. Just be you. Love yourself. Love life. You see me? I afraid death. I afraid sickness. I afraid prison. I afraid everything that's wrong. I don't deal with the positive thing. When people come in my way to bring their old energies, I always have a good energy in myself because I can help them because a lot of them they disturb. You know what I'm saying? They don't know where they go in. They don't know what they live in for. They don't know what is their purpose. You know what I'm saying? So when you sit down to work and you want to think of visionary things when you're working for it, you put yourself in stress and problem. You know what I'm saying? You're the already fireman.
Yes, yes.
You know, when you put in yourself in areas you cannot deal with, you're hurting yourself. You know what I'm saying? The Father say, love you, put you first. Love you, love your life, love what you're doing. Anything else, you just say, sister. A lot of times the people have a problem. You do a little physical, a little exercise, a little running. Keep their mind functioning. Keep their body. Because when you see you are stressed, obviously stress bringing inflammation. When you see it bring the inflammation, it causes you to get shock, blood clot. Just think of it. All different diseases enter into you, just like the virus when it comes to your body. So people have to realize now, you have to love yourself, as I say again. You have to see you. You have to respect human beings. You know what I'm saying? We have to work together. Right now we live in a world that it's very selfish, it's very divided, it's all kind of issue because of mankind. Everybody wants to be the top. Everybody wants to be number one. Everybody wants to be number two. Every one of us carry the same. Every one of us have different energies. You know what I'm saying? So right now, the world we live in, the kind of problem we're going through. It's not money are going to save us. It's not house, nothing are going to save us. What the Father say? Is what you do for humanity. That's the blessing you're going to get. It's not what you have, what you achieve. It's how you help people, how you elevate people, how you motivate people. That's what the Father wants from us. And that's far from us because everybody looking like you become a selfish world, become an ignorant world, become an evilous world. We need to change that attitude, get closer to the Creator. I myself, everybody have their own. I choose mine as Rastafari. So I have my own, I live with that one. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we have to deal with. So without too much of the time, and your good program, great program, people of the world. Stay positive, stay balanced, love and respect humanity. That's the only way we're going to get to success in our life. Up and running, fireman running, blessed up, I give my 2 cents, give thanks for life.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Fireman. Thank you so much for your contribution and for all the information that you provided with us. So if you joined us late, you're listening to Roots Connections on Q, and our guest this evening, Dr. Margaret Wallace, psychologist out of Atlanta, Miss Carla Armour, mindset and movement coach in Dominica, and Mr. Cuthbert Joseph, pastor out in Boston, and we're just talking about coping and distressing during the time of COVID-19. And I like that we're on the topic of religion because we're going back to the Facebook Live to David Joseph, and he says, Janice Sharpless, you are so correct. In the overall scheme of things, Christianity has absolutely nothing to do with being our brother's keeper. It should be our humanity that should guide us into doing what is right as a human being. Pastor Joseph, I can see you're ready to jump out of your chair on that one. So what is your response?
I mean, absolutely. Christianity has to do with it because in order for you to, Christianity is to be Christ-like. Okay, that's what Christianity is about. It's not religion, but to be Christ-like. And what was Christ-like? He found himself helping those that were in need. He found himself with those who were disenfranchised. He found himself with those that were hungry. He says, if you give a cup of water to somebody, you've done it for me. If you give a plate of food, you've done it for me. If you've gone and visit those who are sick and those who are in prison, yes, that's Christianity. And certainly, if humanity, you want to call it that, that's fine. But those are the principles, those are the core values of what we as Christians are supposed to do. And Fireman is correct. We cannot say we love God whom we have not seen, which I've stated earlier, we cannot love those that we are seeing on a daily basis. So yes, if I am a Christian, and many people use the word like they're drinking water, but Christianity is not just going to church, it's not just being a member of a particular religion, but it's what you do. It's not so much what you say, but it's what you do. Do I care for the stranger? Do I care for the person that does not have a meal? Do I care for somebody that needs to pay their mortgage and I can help them? Do I have two bread and I keep to myself, or I pass it with my brother? And those are the principles that Jesus taught. He says, if somebody comes knocking at your door for some bread and you say to them, well, go down the road, maybe you can find a bakery, and you have bread and you did not give him, you're not showing love. You're not showing Christianity. As Mr. Farman said, you've been selfish, and that ought not to be part of who we are. You talk about core values. I want to share this little story. My grandmother, who I told you, helped raise us. We were too many of us in one bedroom house, and we from Dominica, so used to cook some back and neck or some chicken wings. And if there were 12 of us in the house and 12 chicken wings are cooked, I'm expecting to get my little chicken wing. And lo and behold, my grandmother is coming in for a perfect stranger. You know what I'm thinking? Here goes my chicken wing. I'm going to have a piece of chicken wing instead of having a whole chicken wing. Yeah. And my grandmother would say, si bouche nous fan, nous tout que manger. Our mouth is open, we need to eat. Don't worry about tomorrow. But right now, he needs to eat like everybody else. And those are the core values that were taught us as young people. And have we lost it? Probably not. But I don't know that we are practicing it like we should. So yes, it is the core values of Christianity. We love each other, whether they're strangers, whether they're different than us. And I could go on forever, but I know your program is limited. So let me hush my mouth.
Yes. Thank you, Cuthbert. Certainly very valuable information. And I want to come over to Dr. Trifia and Carla real quick, but I want to make sure we're taking the Facebook Live comments. So please, everyone on the panel, make a note if there's a question a comment that I make that you want to respond to. So Tina Bell says, of course, our energy is transmitted, whether it's be positive or negative. So why not transmit positive energy in these challenging times? More than ever, think power, positive thoughts. Janice, in our lovely Dominica, Natuel is gone. To archive anything, example, food, care, and even a job to earn a decent living, one has to do so much odd things. We have Havis Badwill. Good evening. Nice to see you, Havis. Thank you for being here. Roy Williams, great show, very hot night in Jamaica, but I'm locked in. Hi, Roy. Thank you for being here. And again, thank you for sharing your COVID-19 story last week with us. Havis, I am coping very well with this pandemic, and my stresses have nothing to do with COVID-19. I think so many people have no hope because they dwell and trust on things, not him, aka God. I'm in a recession-proof business, but even if I wasn't, I know who I am, and a CEO or Fed will not save my sanity. So very good points coming in, very good points. Let's see if we can take just one more before we go back to the panel. Rosalind says fireman is on point, so some support for fireman. Mary Benjamin keeps saying it, love alone. And one more, Rosalind, he is so knowledgeable, fireman on point. So yes, so any thoughts on anything? Because our time is quickly running out. We need another hour, Mr. G.
I would like to say something very quickly on Mr. Fireman. I know people are supporting him, but I think that sometimes people come with a negativity, and he's, as he mentioned, and you just got to just take it out of your orbit. Just leave people's negativity out of your orbit. Put yourself in positivity. Go into people's orbit that is positive. If they want to give you chat, just smile for them. You don't have to argue, but just smile for them and move on, and keep yourself in a positive orbit. And I think another important thing for people to understand in this day and age, when we are in a heightened vigilance and anxiety, that can then lead to accumulated stress in our bodies and then into diseases and diseases. You understand? We have to be brave enough to set clear boundaries. So if the pastor has the same person to them coming with the same story every time, like his daughter said, maybe he has to set a boundary, draw a line and say, okay, I cannot do that every time, and I cannot do that. We've got to recognize that we are human. We could give somebody our last bread, but we don't realize that that person might have gotten 2 other breads from somebody, right? But they're coming along, so that maybe they're communicating with people, or if they're continuously doing something to you, we've got to set boundaries, because then if people are constantly crossing your boundaries, what happens is going to trigger something in you, a past trauma, something that's really going to throw you off. And then you're going to go into that despair. Oh my God, what did I do wrong? It's my fault. Oh, I wasn't doing this. I didn't do it. And then second guessing yourself, and it's just a downward spiral from there. So just my point on that is just keep the negativity out of your orbit and learn to set your boundaries and articulate them. Either you need to write it to someone and say, that's how I personally feel. Nothing to do with you, but I personally feel like that. So I'm going to set that boundary quite clearly. And take care of yourself. Love yourself as well.
Some powerful information. And Janice Shapley speak. Pastor, your vibe. Sandra Norris, good points. Carla, Dr. Tracy, your thoughts?
My thoughts are on the boundaries issue. I think because, I'm speaking for myself growing up in Dominica. You grow up grounded in Christianity. Many of us, you grow up grounded in community, and you grow up grounded in your family. And we take care of each other a lot. Yeah, that Mathieu principle. Everything, though, must be done in moderation. Like you're saying, Carla, you have to know where something feels like too much for you. And the thing is, you have every right for you to experience it the way you do. You're just different. And so we do have to learn, though, how to speak and say, I understand that's the way you like to do it, but I really don't like it when you do it like that to me. Can you think about trying it like this tomorrow? So that we can keep the communication, the love, the connection, but also the respect and your sanity, your peace of mind. Because I think a lot of us, we mistakenly believe we have to give everything. You hear people say, well, I'll give my last dollar, Well, that's kind of not wise. It's like, because then the same Bible is the one that says there were 10 virgins, 5 wise and 5 foolish, and the wise kept their oil. And when the ones who hadn't taken care of their business came saying, we want some oil, they said, well, no, So we have to learn the language, because I don't think we do it well culturally. We have to learn the language of lovingly but clearly expressing what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what we would prefer, instead of going all the way to yelling and screaming, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? I don't want you to do this. Or not saying anything at all. Just clearly communicating in love. even as we maintain the natty well, the let me help you, I have, and two of us will eat gelfan, obligé manger. I grew up hearing that, if your mouth is open, you're going to eat, so we will take care of each other. But we also have to be able to say when, okay, ouch, 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 I know, but this is hurting me right now. Can we try it a different way?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so grateful that you guys took time out of your busy schedule to stop by and share all these great recommendations and practical information that we can apply to our lives. But let's just end the program by talking about even more recommendations, more things that we can do in terms of coping and distressing. And one of the things is really just attending to the problems that you have right now. So, for example, Attorney at Law Joshua Francis was with Lofty this afternoon, and one of the things he talked about was speaking to your loan officer. If you have a loan, you have a mortgage, you're stressed out about that. How can you have a conversation? How can you have a conversation maybe to your loan manager to see if the interest rates can be waived at some point, to see what can be done with your loan? So I want us to just spend a couple of minutes, the last few minutes of the program, just continuing to delve into more recommendations and some resources, because I promised that we would share some resources as well. And one of them that I found that was very helpful is called mentalhealthforall.nyc.gov. So again, mentalhealthforall.nyc.gov. And what I've been doing, all the information that we're gathering on this program, I've been archiving it so that we have a resource page on my website, which is pushpast10.com, Pushpast, the number 10.com, where we can go and get the resources that we need. So the resources for fighting COVID-19, a connection to PAHO, and all the information, as well as any other resources that we mentioned during the program. So if you've missed the program, of course, we want you to go back and look through and enjoy the entire conversation. But if you just want a quick look at some of the resources that we're talking about on the program, I thought that it was a great idea to have a page where we can go. So again, the website is pushpast10.com, Pushpast, the number 10.com, for more information. So any additional resources, information you want to add to those on the panel?
Well, I would want to encourage everybody to first start with taking care of their health and fitness so that they can stay as healthy as possible to be able to support those around them that they love and who may need them. Also, just being healthy, being fit, ideal weight in the sense that you're not carrying excessive weight, that you're not going to get sick, will be number one, because that is the first thing that you have control of yourself. And when you feel that you're controlling yourself and you're putting yourself into a ritual, plan your week, and you're following through on that, the high that it puts you on, when you know that, look at that, I can tick that off, tick that off, tick that off. I feel good, I feel energetic, I feel alive, I feel healthy. Any problem that comes at you, you feel I can handle that too. Because you've already established a ritual. You've established that you can accomplish things and that you can actually progress through things. So you do the same thing for your problems. You look at it and then you say, okay, like you said with the loan, okay, this is what I have to pay, this is what I have. Let me talk to and you make your list. This is the plan for the next week, what I'm going to do about that. Let me send that email, let me follow it up with a call and make your plan, just as you would do with your well-being plan, with your food, your nutrition, your water, just starting first of all with drinking 3 liters of water a day and making a promise to yourself for the next 3 weeks, that's what you're going to do. And just establishing that one habit. You know how many other habits will start to fall into place? Multiple. Okay, if I can do that, I can do that too. So that's one of the things I think that's a very, very important in just taking what you have full control with. Nobody else controls you and what you put in your mouth, but yourself. So I think that is a very important key thing so that you can take care of others as well who will need your help.
Yes. Anyone else?
Since you talk about the mouth, I also wear a hat in the dental world. So let me say that one of the things I find, because of all the stress that people are having, and even before COVID, one of the least things people take care of is their teeth, their mouth. They have a heart attack or they have a pain in their chest and they run to the doctor. but they don't take care of their teeth. And a lot of things start in the mouth. Your health, Carla talked about your health, starts in the mouth. And so I see a lot of people, and you can see their stress without they telling you they're stressed, because they have the teeth are worn down. When you're stressed, you grind your teeth a lot. You don't even know it, but you grind your teeth. And when you wake up in the morning, your face muscles are hurting, and you wonder why, because you've been grinding all night because you're so stressed. And that's how the body tries to cope with it. So I'm urging each and every one of you to take care of your teeth wherever you are. Get a cleaning. Some people haven't had a cleaning since COVID started because they don't want to go to the dentist. But it's quite important that you take care of your teeth. That might help distress you quite a bit.
Yes, and I want to come to you, Dr. Triffy, and before we leave, I want to make sure that you just tell us about your profession. If anybody wants to get in touch with you to continue the conversation, maybe seek some professional help from one of the panel members. So while you're sharing your final thoughts with us, Dr. Triffy, just go ahead and tell us how we might get in touch with you, your practice and all that information, and then we'll circle back around to the other panelists.
All right, so I'm Dr. Triffy. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a licensed psychologist. I am actually taking a sabbatical from individual therapy this year because last year was too hectic. And, we talked about who heals the healer. 2021 was for me to take time to recover myself in many ways. And so I'm not seeing anybody one-on-one. I am training people to do hypnotherapy. I am training people and doing mentoring through a couple of Facebook groups that I created. One of them is Trauma Transformers Tribe. That's many of the participants in there are Dominican women, and we have a wonderful time. We talk about anxiety management and stress and relationships and, success and reframing, all of that stuff. And
tell us the name again.
Trauma Transformers Tribe, and that's for women. That's for women. I also have a hypnotherapy heals group for hypnotherapy practitioners and people who are interested in learning how to do hypnotherapy. I'm doing a training over the weekend via Zoom, so I'll be sitting a lot this weekend training some folks to heal themselves first and other people fast. Because we really need it right now. Practitioners and healers need to learn techniques that work really fast, because a lot of people are suffering. And speaking of the mouth, you open your mouth, people, open your mouth. If your body is feeling something, you must give it words to start your healing. You have to go pick up the phone, call the dentist, pick up the phone, talk to somebody about it. Because if not, the energy of that stays in your body and it will manifest into illness. And we don't want that level of dis-ease, like Carla says, in the body. We can do better. So open your mouth.
Yes. Thank you for that, Carla, your practice and your final thoughts, if anyone wants to get in touch with you.
Well, they can go to carlaarmour.com. I think they can find me on pretty much every social media platform there is. So that's pretty easy. And yes, I'm ready to help anyone that I can. I'm actually doing a session with the teachers at the Bells Primary School on Friday, because the Prime Minister has asked them to do self-care every Friday of September. I'm also participating with the Dominica Health and Wellness Association with our month-long Caribbean Health Awareness Week, Wellness Awareness Week month. So I am giving some sessions, classes and prompts on Instagram and classes on Facebook and on Zoom. So, and I'm just available if anybody needs any support, somebody to hear what they have to say, to help them shadow it back to them and say, well, that's what I'm hearing. Is that what you really feel? And look, they can get in touch. They can reach me. They can DM me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Twitter, and they can just go to my website, carlaarmour.com.
Yes, thank you so much. So carlaarmourcoach.com.
No, just carlaarmour.com. It goes there as well. It goes to my
carlaarmour.com.
coaching site as well. Yes.
Carla, and Armour is ARMOUR.
Yes.
Okay,
The
thank
knight
you
in
so.
shining armor, not the love in French.
and
It's wars,
and
love.
Cuthbert, your practice, any contact information you would like to share?
Absolutely. First of all, I do have a program I'm associated with New England Christian Television Network. And you have been on my program, Dr. Simone. And so you can easily find us on Facebook, NECTN, New England Christian Television Network, and where we are broadcasting television station. And I am Vice President of Beacon Dental Group, BEACON Dental Group, and we are a dental practice 20 years in Massachusetts. We are located at 1026 Blue Avenue. You can find us at beacondentalgroup.com. And if you are from Dominica and you're visiting Massachusetts, there's a free cleaning available to all Dominicans. That's one thing I give back to Dominica. Absolutely. And many Dominicans have taken advantage of it. So please feel free to when you visit Boston, look us up and we'll be happy to serve you. And by the way, I feel so honored and blessed to have been on the panel with such wonderful, beautiful women. That's my cross, by the way. I am home with 3 daughters and a wife. I work with all women. I went to dental hygiene school with 52 people, and I was one of 2 men. So I am just blessed by being surrounded by women. So thank you.
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank the panel. A special thank you for joining us, Dr. Margaret Wallace, Coach Carla Armour, and Pastor Cuthbert Joseph. It has been wonderful being able to engage with you, and of course, our Facebook Live audience, as well as the Q95 listeners to this program. We want to thank you for spending this time with us. We have a lot to cover, and we have a lot of experts who will stop by, but I can truly testify to your commitment, everyone on the panel, to your commitment to Dominica, because of course I've had you on previous programs. So thank you so much for remaining committed to Dominica, remaining committed to advancing the well-being of Dominicans at home and abroad. And of course, we say thank you to Mr. G and the Q95 family, Lambie showing over there in the studio. We want to thank you for keeping us connected and for all the wonderful work that you do to support our programming. And as the world continues to evolve and continues to change, that is what we will continue to do here on Roots Connections on Q. We will continue to build what we're calling social capital. So we'll continue to engage and continue to build these relationships where we can have our expertise, and anyone who's had an experience come over and share this experience for the benefit of Dominica. So whether it is through trying to enhance people's lives economically, financially, spiritually, mentally, we will continue to bring our experts into the program as they continue to share their knowledge and their experiences. So again, I want to thank you for being here. Again, if you miss any part of the programming and you're not on Facebook, you can go onto q95da.com by tomorrow and the program will be available. Of course, if you are on Facebook, you can jump on Wise QFM or Push Past 10 for the programming as well. And we encourage you to follow Push Past 10, follow Wise QFM, as well as we continue to build our social capital, build our network of Dominicans, and just create a global community of experts. So with that, I want to say good evening. Carla, did you have one more thing to say?
Just to say thank you and good evening.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, so thank you, Lambie. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Dr. Triffy, Cuthbert, and the Facebook Live audience, as well as the Q95 audience. Until next time, I am Simone Mathieu, and you've been listening to Roots Connections on Q on Q95, the big station. You have a wonderful evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Night, Lambert.
Bye.
Good night.